This is real fucking bad.
Sounds like we have Pat Kessler on the phone now.
Pat, please don't hang up on us again.
Yes, this is a very difficult night for everybody in Minnesota, everybody in Minneapolis and St. Paul, as we watch these protests grow. I think one of the big questions, guys, is why isn't the city stepping in of Minneapolis and St. Paul? Why isn't the state stepping in to stop this violence, these fires, these conflagrations, these takeovers of the Minneapolis police precinct? It is a very big question. We know that the governor's office has sent 500 National Guard troops tonight to the Twin Cities to try to tamp down this violence, this looting, the fires. But we don't see them anywhere in the city. We also see tonight that President Trump has entered the fray. Just a few minutes ago, he tweeted that he cannot stand back and watch this happen, in his words, to a great American city. He's attributing it to the radical left mayor, in his words, Jacob Frey. Let's set that aside for just a moment. Here's what's important here. He says that he has spoken to Governor Walz and told him that the military is available to come in and do it. But then the president says this, as any difficulty that happens from now on, he says the federal government will assume control. And he says this, when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
That's where I stopped it, because this is martial law. And, you know, this executive order, that's one thing. Now, here's another.
So this is a very
National renewal.
strong reaction from the President of the United States in the midst of this really terrible event that's happening in Minneapolis and St. Paul tonight.
Well, Pat, let's break this down a little bit. I mean, who's making the call? Is the mayor listening to the fire chief saying, I'm afraid to go in? Is the police chief saying to the fire chief, I don't have enough guys to protect your fire equipment? I mean, at some point, someone has to take some responsibility, and I think that's why you see the president getting so worked up. And I think a lot of people watching this are going, where is law enforcement? Where is the fire department? But I know that these decisions aren't made in a vacuum. How does this leadership flowchart work in terms of who is doing or not doing things?
Well, this is the most important question of tonight. We have not heard from any of our city leadership, nor have we heard from Governor Walz about tamping down this violence. That's something I think that is very unusual in all of my years of reporting, that we have not seen our leaders come forward and say, this is what's happening, this is what we're going to do, particularly to stop this violence. So we don't know the answer to the question, Frank. We don't know why or who is not allowing the police to come in, the firefighters to come in, or the National Guard. I will say again that the National Guard has been ordered to these cities, but around the 3rd Precinct, which is burning down, which is something I think that none of us has seen in our lifetime.
No.
Unprotected police department burning down because they gave it up. They retreated and let it happen. So that's something we have not seen. We are still waiting to hear from all of these. Now, specifically to your question, the governor of Minnesota controls the National Guard. He has activated the Guard. The Guard has not yet appeared on the streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul, to my knowledge. Nothing that we have seen yet.
Pat, they
So
haven't
that's
appeared.
where we are.
They haven't appeared on the streets, but we did get a tweet, and there was the National Guard with the fire department, but nothing, and that was almost an hour ago.
Hour and a half now,
Yeah.
at least.
And nothing has happened since then.
And,
So
and Pat, to your point, you know, it even makes it more glaring, I think, is that every day we get an email saying we're having a briefing with the governor at 2 o'clock, and the governor is going to have these people on, and he's going to talk about COVID-19. And there has been communication and maybe over communication, and people have been praising him for how clear he's been about communicating this. But I think you bring up a good point, just the complete void of anyone coming forward tonight saying a thing.
That's our government at work. So quick to point the blame, so quick to take avoid responsibility, or play the ignorant card. Oh, I didn't know. Oh well, I did it, and they try to put some spin on it. Special privileges,
That's the most important point of all here, that we have not heard from any of these folks. As I said, during the last half an hour, I have communicated with the governor's office, asking them, where is the guard? Why are they not protecting the cities? We have not yet heard back from them. But that's an important point here and an important question. As we look to what happened tonight, where we saw that there was no guard protecting, the police were protecting, and then they retreated in Minneapolis and allowed the protesters to come in. We don't know who allows that to happen. Is it the Minneapolis police chief? Is it the mayor who says, don't hurt?
That's what it comes down to. This is orchestrated chaos. MK Ultra, freaking the mind control experiments. That's part of LSD experiments, mind control, MDMA, and everything, and it goes on with crack as well. Create the most motivated, freaking energized worker. And with the LSD, MK Ultra, freaking, that's, with Berkeley, freaking UCLA, freaking a lot of these prestigious colleges, and that's part of the reason why there was so much. It was like a miniature renaissance that occurred, and almost like a truth serum as well. It's mind control. It's easy to corrupt one's mind. It really is. And the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, was part of that experiment. See what happened to him? Because he freaking realized what the hell was going on, and this and the other. And maybe I shouldn't make that comparison to the stuff, because I already consider a damn terrorist. But let's finish this.
Any of the protesters?
Well, I can tell.
We'll get back
okay,
to Pat.
Trace. We don't need to be breathless about it.
We are going to.
We'll get it. Hey, Pat, keep watching and listening, because we're going to get the chief on right now.
We have the chief right now, the Minneapolis Police Chief, John Fradel, joining us right now. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, no kidding. I wonder.
The chief on right now.
I'll get back to that one. Let me just.
The chief right now, the Minneapolis.
Now to my history. So.
My fellow Americans, we really need some help. Okay. First off, the preppers. They're isolationists. At this point in time, I don't think they really care about participating within our society. I understand the whole self-sufficiency and self-reliance, the people hoarding and belongings and this, that, and the other. No, because most of these guys are buying into all the fear-mongering that's going on. Everybody's drinking the cool.
I won't go through this entire video. I just implore you to watch it all.
Blade. Apparently there's good business in this. A lot of hot words, a lot of negative words, fraud, debt, economic collapse, and NSA, TSA, you name it. Whatever it is named, there is a title that goes to it, or there's a negative label that goes to it, and these people who are going to ruin it for us all because they are ridden with fear and panic. That's it, and that's scary. Anyone who is in fear and panicking when nothing's even happening, that's a loose cannon. That is a loose cannon, and we need to really. Because you're a coward.
Yeah, this is a nice little spot.
But what are we going to do about it? Are you going to do something in your little cave? Are you the fucking Taliban? Are you Al Qaeda? Why are you going to hide? Because you're a coward. And don't get me wrong, I completely respect and admire certain folks who are in a community. However, there's a few bad apples who are spoiling for the bunch, and those are the ones who I'm talking to. And the leaders who I respect and admire because they're rational with their thinking. Please, clean up your communities. It's the least we can do at this point in time. We have civil unrest going throughout this entire world. It's already in our country. We cannot have this. We cannot have an uprising of a bunch of people fearing and panicking. Nanobots. They're seeing in the clouds with nanobots. We don't need a war of the worlds in the 21st century. Because all that's going to do is institute martial law.
And well, what's happening? What's happening? About a terrorist, right? I'll watch the world burn from a safe distance. He wants to join me for a picnic.